lawyer in velvet gown, whispers of law beneath the moon's sweet glow. He's here to guide you through the undertow, from tales of love lost and battles won, to secrets that hide when the day is done. He'll paint the night with stories so stark. Welcome to Family Law After Dark. Light up that cigar and pour a glass of red, as we wade through matters not often said, where hearts and minds often leave a mark. Dive deep into family law after dark. The lawyer's voice smooth like leather, piecing lives only he can tether. In the sultry jazz lounge, let the wisdom flow. Feel the rhythm in the late night glow. Through custody tangles and alimony strife, he navigates the drama of everyday life. With a wry wink and a cheeky remark, let's unravel family law after dark. Light up that cigar and pour a glass of red, as we wade through matters not often said, where hearts and minds often leave a mark. Dive deep into family law after dark. Light up that cigar and pour a glass of red, as we wade through matters not often said, where hearts and minds often leave a mark. Dive deep into family law after dark.
Good evening, folks. Happy Friday to you. And this is Omar Serrato, the Tilted Lawyer podcast. I'm joined by Schnitzel Ninja. And
Hey.
very shortly, we're going to be joined by Brad, but not Bruce. Bruce said I think he's going to be unavailable because of things. But I have an incredible show planned out for all of you. Before we get into our normal family law cases, I want to address something with the Blake Lively case, because this lady has been commenting on my last couple of videos, and she was very concerned about the singular question about whether or not Blake Lively's lawsuit, like the entire thing, was dismissive or can be dismissed for failure to obtain a right to sue letter from the EEOC. What we know is, I know that she got one from the CRD. She has not, as far as I'm aware, gotten one from the EEOC. And then the question is that a big deal? And then my answer to her was like, not really, but now I'm going to explain kind of why. But this was her question, if I can share with you folks. So this is what she said. This is her. Go fake yourself, Megan. I don't know who Megan is, but I love the name. She's left multiple comments about this issue. So the fact that she didn't submit below this, there was something else. So she says, read the last paragraph in the CRD's right to sue letter to BL. She didn't follow their instructions. She has no right to sue in a federal court. Would be nice if someone would read that CRD letter thoroughly. Well, I have, and I have the answer for her. But this is what she was getting at. The fact that she didn't submit a verification and file her complaint with the EEOC is a procedural issue. That is cause for dismissal if raised early enough in litigation. On the other hand, it is also evidence of malice. I don't know how it would be evidence of malice. What am I missing, Schnitzel?
I am on the same page as you.
All right.
Yeah.
So I would imagine JB would raise the issue at any time. It has nothing to do with jurisdiction. You're right. It doesn't have anything to do with jurisdiction. It's a procedural issue. It turns out that she didn't file with the EEOC but it is cause for a dismissal as a procedural error, especially with regard to the verification portion. Hopefully you address this because I'm trying to make sense of how this might impact your case and JB's defense. Well, I could answer your question as I let Bruce in. What's up, Bruce?
Brad?
You know, the other Bruce.
The other B. The other B. All right. So to answer Megan's question, it would be a really big deal if somebody raised that issue and asked for a dismissal that couldn't be cured because of procedural grounds. What I know is that in her original complaint and then again in her amended complaint, there's no reference to her getting a right to sue letter from the EEOC. She just simply states that she has at the present time of filing, exhausted all administrative options, which she technically had. I think the big red herring that you're chasing is that she can't technically file for a request for a right to sue letter under the EEOC until 180 days have passed from the date of the incident, from the time of filing, or whatever, I guess from the date that she raises the complaint. She's raised a complaint here in this lawsuit. Her lawsuit involves, yes, federal stuff. She has every right to do that because your issue is not it's not a jurisdictional one. But she has certainly exhausted all of her administrative issues with California, and some of her causes of action are based on California law. And technically, the earliest time she could request a right to sue letter from the EEOC would be sometime of June of this year. So the issue's not even ripe yet. Also significant is the fact that not one of the defendants thus far in their motions to dismiss has raised that issue because it's a curable one. So although it's true that she hasn't done this yet, unless she specifically asked for permission to do so, which is unlikely, it's not a ripe issue yet. And everybody knows about the issue, and nobody's doing anything about it because they know that they're going to cure that pretty quickly. I'd imagine that, you know, even if I guess you can make the argument that perhaps she brought her Title VII issues a little bit prematurely, the fact that she's brought them now, I think the court's probably just going to let it go. It's like either she filed the thing in December. We can either, you know, dismiss it and she's just going to refile, or we could just let it go. I think they're just going to let it go. In other words, I don't think it's grounds for dismissal of her entire complaint. And that is my Blake Lively portion of the show. What do you think about that, Brad?
I have no idea. I don't follow this case at all. Everyone I know is covering it, but I'm just like, this is not my fight, or I don't care about anyone in it. It's only mildly interesting seeing Ryan Reynolds getting pulled into it, but that's only because him as Deadpool is fun. But other than that, I could care less.
Yeah, Blake Lively has become a villain for people following this case, as has Blake Lively. And but yeah, I've had multiple questions about people trying to get Lively's lawsuit dismissed because of deficiencies with 47.1, because of the CRD filing, because of the EEOC. It ain't getting dismissed, man. They're just not. They're not. It's a very easy cure. So I guess the short, too long didn't read version is no, she didn't file for her right to sue letter yet, but she can't until June anyway. And so unless she did specific things, and I don't know if she did those things, but nobody's raising the issue. And even if it was an issue, I don't think that they would bring up the issue until she couldn't possibly cure it. In other words, let's just say that it was a thing. If you're opposing counsel, why would you tip them off like at this stage of the game when she could potentially cure the issue? They're probably, if it is a thing at all, they're waiting until that expires. Second, they've already kind of preserved their objections and their affirmative defenses. Anyway, it's not getting dismissed is the answer to that question. Are we good? Are we good? I think we're good. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing all right. It was a rough afternoon running around with my son, going to the grocery store. And
what did your son do?
Let's see. He was good when I got him out of the daycare. Then we got into the grocery store and I'm like, okay, let's get in the cart. So then I go to put him in the front portion, and he's bucking his legs up so that he can absolutely do everything in his power to not go in that seat. He wants to sit in the basket. Well, then I go and put him in the basket or in the larger section, and then he slips, falls backwards into it, and lightly bonks his head on the back. So I'm like, all right, this is the day we're having today. So then I go and ask, does he want a fruit pack? And he says, yeah, and open it. And then he's opening and closing it. And I'm like, no, man, you got to open it and eat it. So then he starts eating it. We go about our business and do stuff. When he finishes the one, and then he opens the second one. And I'm like, man, it was supposed to be for a different day or something. And it's like, it's open now. Eat it.
Oh, how old is your boy now?
He's almost 4.
He's almost 4. I got to address this before I forget. Helen says courts run on procedure. She hasn't followed procedures. Technically, she kind of is. She's followed all of the procedure. She timely filed her CRD complaint. She is not eligible to request the thing from the EEOC yet until June. And when the time comes, I can't imagine she's not going to do that. And if it becomes an issue, it's a curable one. I just don't think it's getting dismissed. And you don't want it dismissed on Brian Friedman does not want to dismiss this on procedural grounds. He wants to put her feet to the fire and watch her squirm. Mm-hmm. That's what I know about Friedman and Baldoni. They're going in on this lady. They don't want a motion. Notice that Friedman hasn't filed a motion to dismiss. He doesn't want to dismiss this case. Let's bring her ass in a trial. Let's depose her. Let's put her on the stand. Let's make her sweat. Let's make her face all these things. I think the most important question that they have is whether or not they're going to go forward on their defamation claims because of the implications for how it's going to affect potential damages if they lose or they're not, if they don't succeed. But that's another question for another day. Helen, I feel you. I know what you mean. It's just it's not procedurally deficient enough to warrant a full-on dismissal. What an anticlimactic way for this case to end because of an EEOC issue. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Schnitzel, how you been?
Been pretty good. My son fell last weekend and cut his chin open. We had to go to the ER again and get stitches. So he was home with me for a couple days and then went to school, but he is doing well.
Yeah.
As good as can be.
Well, I saw in the picture the nasty little thing he'd gone on the, that looked fucking painful.
It was not good. And it was like just such a weird cut. Like it wasn't just, it kind of just split open in different angles. But like, thankfully for us, there was a pediatric plastic surgeon on call when we went. So like, I don't understand how this man sewed this together and made it look so nice. Like it looks like it's just perfectly aligned.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I recall when I had to get stitches in the 80s when I was like 4. And, they weren't real nice about it. They had to like hold me down in a straitjacket and everything. They strapped me down to the table. And I remember my dad was like trying to hold me down. I was like looking at him. He's like trying to hold my head straight. And I was like, freaking out because it was painful. And then I don't remember how it all went, but that's
me at 5. And I split the back of my head open and had to get stitches. And they had to hold me down so I could get those.
Did they not numb it?
I have no recollection.
Whether they numbed it or not, I was absolutely did not want to be restrained regardless.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, this is kind of the issue with this Lively case. It's complex litigation, and people are like holding on to certain things. But it wasn't the EEOC; it was the CRD. No, they complied with the CRD. They got the right to sue letter from the CRD. It's not. They didn't get one yet from the EEOC because it's not eligible to get just yet. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and people are like picking and choosing and finding little things. But what about this? What about that? Everybody's confused about this case.
Is the New York Times piece settled, or is that still going forward?
They haven't ruled on anything as far as I know, unless something came out recently. I haven't seen anything. So. Yeah, none of the motions to dismiss have been ruled on, I don't think.
Because if there's one thing about the case that I thoroughly enjoy. It's whether or not the New York Times is going to be held liable for any misrepresentations or factual withholdings.
You want my opinion? I'll tell you my opinion. If it's just on the basis of the article that they wrote, not a chance. But if they uncover in discovery, which is going to be hard to do because I think they stayed discovery on the Times case, text messages where they were colluding with Lively's PR team somehow and irresponsibly even then, it's a tough sell. I mean, because all they did was publish, even if they had like extensive monthly conversations with Lively and her PR team, and all they did was publish what was alleged in the CRD complaints, it's privileged. And so I don't know. I think there's a better chance that they dismiss the New York Times than not. But then again, I also think that they're going to amend their complaint. I don't know. We will see. We will see. But look, I get people's confusion about this case. I watched another lawyer the other day. I forget what the guy's name was. Do you guys watch content creators that make content about the Lively case?
I don't.
There's like this Asian guy.
Sometimes I watch some of them. Can I just saw something very exciting. May I announce it? I don't mean to interrupt you.
Do it.
David Gingras has lost his appeal. and Woodnick and Clayton Eckert have won. I just saw it on Reddit.
Is Gingerbread raging?
I have no idea. I just saw it.
Is he drowning in a whiskey river?
I shared the link in the private chat. I can't post links in the regular chat.
Could I do a little jig on Gingerbread's grave?
Yes. Please do.
So
I think we're going to have to do that for another show.
According to the docket, it says, pursuant to Arizona Rules of Civil Appellate Procedure 18, the court concludes the case is adequately presented in briefs and record and that oral argument would not significantly contribute to the decisional process. It is ordered that request for oral argument is denied. And then it says
they denied his request for oral argument.
Yeah,
no
and they ruled on it already. The ruling is linked on that Reddit link.
In other words, it was such a bad argument that, you know what, we don't have our oral arguments for what, man? I get what you're trying to say, and no. Denied, bitch. That's how they're doing it.
Omar, can you guys post the link? Can you, Omar? Because I can't post it.
Yeah, I will post the link. Could you send it to me in the private chat or something?
I did.
Perfect. Now, if I can only figure out how to post links, I'll figure it out.
You should just be able to copy and paste it into the chat.
Yeah, I'm going to copy and paste it and pin it. I think that's the way to go, right?
This might be worthy of owning FLAD and just reading this.
Well, do I have the actual a statement of decision?
Yeah.
Yeah. Click on that, and then there's a link to
There's a second link in the private chat. That's the PDF.
Like that's the Reddit link, but then on the Reddit link, there's a link to the
private chat. I just posted the link to the PDF.
Yeah, I got it. I got it up. How long is this? This is
11 pages, but it's
11 pages.
Margins.
Well, I'm going to have to obviously do an individual stream about this, but I will go over the highlights.
Lauren said she's going on at like 9:15 or 9:30, so maybe we could.
Maybe we'll join her for that. Maybe I'll join her for that, and then I'll break it down at another time. But just to share with you guys what everybody's, and if you guys are unfamiliar with the Laura Owens case, we've been following this case since like how long, Schnitzel? Like October?
January.
I've been since September, August, September of 23.
No, not 23, 24. Sorry.
So in other words, to give factual procedural background, here's the discussion about attorney fees. Owens argues that because Eckert did not comply with Rule 26's safe harbor requirements, she was shielded from any punishment, which was a ludicrous argument. We review the trial court's decision. Owens argues that because there was a response, nevertheless, Eckert properly requested attorney fees and costs under those authorities. I swear to God, it's like exactly what I said like months ago. For example, he requested attorney fees and costs under 25-324. And then Gingras like, he's not even eligible to request it under that. I was like, okay, well, what about all these other cases? Omar's dead to me. And then he made like a Christmas video where I was getting coal in my stocking. And that was the last time I've ever talked to Gingerbread. Well, Owens next argues, attorney, yeah, I'm going to have to spend some time with this, reading this. Now is not the time when I'm lubricated. It is not the time. Anyway, on appeal, Owens also claims that the amount of fees. Okay, so the court made such finding thus it was required to sanction Owens for the cost and reasonable attorneys under 25-415 and 25. What was the other one? 324. Owens does not meaningfully challenge that finding. Of course she doesn't, because she thought that 26 was a. Why would Gingerbread? He's been an attorney for a really long time. Why would he think that was? Oh, never mind. See, you're getting me all off of my game.
Sorry, I know. I'm sorry. I just completely sidelined your stream.
Yeah, on appeal, Owens claims stuff. Denial of motion for relief from judgment. The trial court erred by a motion for relief from judgment, or alternatively to alter or amend. Owens argues the trial court improperly performed an independent investigation. Structural error here. Owens moved for change. The presiding judge did not abuse her discretion. In other words, no.
Yeah.
Disposition for the foregoing reasons reaffirmed the trial court's judgment. It's over. It's done.
Go pound Sam.
Oh my God.
In other words, Gingerbread, suck my eggs.
Yeah, I remember that girl. She was a hoe.
Sorry. Oh my God, I got goosebumps.
What a way to start a
week too, isn't it?
Wow.
Oh, I don't know. We're gonna obviously I'm gonna have to dive deeper into that. Lauren's gonna have to let me on her stream so I could dance on Gingerbread's grave, but I got to do FLAD first, and so I might even do like an emergency pod later tonight. Because I'm all by myself at the house today. What the hell else am I going to do? How about that? Yep. Because the wife is taking like a girls' trip to Oceanside, some beach house or whatever.
Nice.
So, anyway. I don't even know what to do anymore. Like, should we just start FLAD?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean.
Might as well.
It's going to be hard for me to concentrate on it, but I'll do my best.
I can't just like start FLAD and have all these people tuning in and it's like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about Gingerbread. I'll talk about him when we're good and ready. No, hey, it's great news.
Wait, why don't we ask the chat? Do you want to ask the chat if they want to talk about?
Hey, chat, should we proceed with FLAD or should we talk about Gingerbread and his his defeat?
Oh.
No, I think they want to do FLAD. I just feel it in my bones.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, if it changes in the chat, then let me know. But in the meantime, I need to stick with our regularly scheduled program.
What kind of zesty articles do we have?
What's up, Stephanie? You ain't seen us. We have a case about a custody battle with an abusive ex where this lady had the children awarded to her abuser. So it's kind of a serious case. We have a couple of stories of infidelity, a sexless marriage, and we have this guy that's obsessed with lanterns. So where should we start?
With lanterns?
Oh, yeah. It's with lanterns.
Let's do that one.
Yeah, here we go. I guess we're doing it.
Weird one.
Let me share my screen with you folks. If enough people want me to convert this into a stream about the appeals, knowing that I'm going to be streaming about this independently after FLAD with Lauren and by myself, just let me know. But it turns out I got a busy night ahead of me. I had no idea. Let me share my screen.
For other reasons.
The hell does that mean, Brad?
I found out I had work to do, so now I have to stay up until 2 a.m. to go fix computers.
Oh my God.
Such is the life of an IT. IT Brad. IT Brad. Bruce is busy too, playing Dungeons and Dragons.
D&D.
With his, yeah. Oh. Okay, so look, if you guys are unfamiliar, I see a lot of fresh faces in the chat. We do a show called Family Law After Dark. So my day job, I'm a family law attorney. I practice civil litigation, but like most of my practice is family law. And these cases are reminiscent of the cases that I get in my office like every day. So I go over their situations and I talk about them in the way that I would advise them if they were in my office. And it gets to be a bit much sometimes. It gets really heavy sometimes. Sometimes it's hilarious. The job of a family law attorney oftentimes defaults into like pseudo therapist, believe it or not. Even though I did not go to school for that. I went to school to become a doctor of the law, to get my Juris Doctor of law stuff. But at any rate, here is an example. So my 26-year-old boyfriend, or 28-year-old boyfriend, she's 26, is obsessed with a lantern that he found at a flea market. It's getting weird how to approach this. Thankfully, they're not married. So, all right, look, 28 and 26. Do you guys remember that magical age between the ages of 28 and 24?
Magical.
Surprisingly, yes.
I don't know if I'd call it magical.
I would call it magical. You know why? Because I consider those years when I was like at my absolute prime, like physical prime, mental, not wisdom prime, but like mental acuity. Like my chess game was like, was on point, it just, everything was on point at that age. It's like when you're in your physical prime, it's really fun to walk around the earth as a 27-year-old man, and then it just all gets progressively worse and you have to like fight against time and space in the universe to maintain. But here is this guy, he's using his prime to become obsessed with lanterns that he found at a flea market. He found this old style lantern that he absolutely fell in love with. He bought it on the spot. And I thought it was cute little vintage decoration for our apartment, but now things have taken a strange turn. Ever since he got the lantern, he's become super attached to it. He keeps it by his bedside and even gets up in the middle of the night to walk around the apartment with it, pretending to be an old-timey watchman. He'll say things like, "All is well," or "The night is dark and full of terrors." I mean, that could be like a move in the bedroom, I mean, once or twice a year, maybe. I don't know. What do you think about that? What if your Brad, what if your partner was just like, "Hey, I got this lantern," and then she wanted to like cosplay like the medieval times or something?
Well, I'd be right there with her because
I happen to have a lantern myself.
Well, not a lantern, but can you hide the comment underneath of me?
Oh, yeah. Well, what did I leave up? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Brad.
No, you're good. So true story. My wife and I met on Match. One of my photos on my Match profile was me in my Renaissance Fair garb. And that is what attracted her to me, was that, oh, this guy likes the Renaissance Fair. I also like the Renaissance Fair. So that was one of the big things. So I would say that she does have what sounds like an eccentric boyfriend, but I think she doesn't list how long this has been going on, but I imagine that guys have this thing where if we're not using something, then it feels like it's wasted space for us.
I don't have that problem.
Really?
I have plenty of things in my house that I don't use.
Oh, well, I
guess it feels like, in terms of like wasted spaces, and maybe we should throw it away because it's just sitting there.
Yeah, like as something sits there and goes unused, the urge to want to throw it away really starts to increase if you know you're not really going to be using it again.
I see. Well, I think that her issue is not that he has this fascination with lanterns. I think her issue is that he's doing it all the effing time. Ever since he got the lantern, he's become super attached. He keeps it by his bedtime. All is well thing. Night is dark and full of terrors. At first, I thought it was kind of funny and endearing, as he always had an eccentric style of humor. She spells it with a U. It's catching on to her, isn't it? But now it's starting to annoy me. He does this almost every night, and it's disrupting our sleep. I've tried talking to him about it. He just tells me that he takes his watchman duties very seriously and that it's important for our safety. The issue is I genuinely cannot tell if he's joking. He probably thinks he's being funny. He probably thinks that. Has anyone else experienced something like this? How do I get him to tone it down without hurting his feelings, or making him feel like he can't enjoy his quirky interests? In other words, what if your like partner has like this weird hobby and they're just like on about it all the time, and it's bothering your relationship?
I mean, I think I'd need for it to be at least toned down, because then he's putting like his wants, not even a need, but a want, ahead of our relationship and the health of our relationship.
Well, I would say that it's a maturity issue. I feel like if you got like weird, quirky hobbies like that and your partner's like not into it, then you should probably not force that upon them. Definitely don't bring it into the bedroom. Like, definitely don't talk like a freaking pirate, not a pirate. like a medieval times guy, like a knight.
Evil, or like a medieval watchman.
Yeah, just don't be annoying about it. Like, you could have your weird quirks. Look, your partner's going to have a weird thing. Everybody's got a weird thing. I got a weird thing. Brad, what's your weird thing?
Computers, video gaming.
See, but that's not really weird, because there's an entire community of people that is also into.
Do you like anime?
I have lots of anime.
So like what kind?
See, that would be that. Why you gotta say it in that voice, Schnitzel?
What do you think you know what I'm talking
what
about?
kind of anime?
I don't think you know what I'm talking about. Brad is totally into that stuff.
I have my still in box Keys in the Eye figure from my shelf.
Oh man,
Schnitzel, what is your weird thing?
He can't hear us right now.
Oh, did he?
I have my pair of Hestia Nendoroids.
What is that? Schnitzel, you're making noises, man. What's going on?
Totally non-judgmental, I promise.
I can't list it all, but I've got a section of in-book manga that I have. One series of which is in its original Japanese. So,
well, I think you already know. I don't get.
See, to me, I've been with a guy who was into anime, adult and regular, and like super into it. And that for me that would probably be my like, I don't want to be involved with that hobby.
My wife and I enjoy it, so it's just
that's good. I mean, like I know some people do like are really into it. That's just like for me personally, it's not like something I've ever been interested in, I guess, or like something that's piqued my interest.
Yeah, so
I don't view. By the way, Stephanie wants to know: does that thing light up? Is it rusty? I have questions.
If it's like an old-fashioned, or wait. No, nothing lights up.
Okay. Definitely doesn't light up.
I'm actually keeping the Kizuna figure because that was 1, expensive, 2, imported from Japan, and 3, is might increase in value. So I'm holding on to it to see if it actually does increase in value. But otherwise,
all right, I'm gonna give you my totally mature attorney family law perspective on it. Look, partner is going to have weird things. I don't think that Brad's anime collection, I don't want to call it, it's not a fantasy. His hobby, it's his anime hobby.
Fandom.
I don't think it's a weird thing. You know why? Because I just had my old producer Dominic was also into anime and I didn't get it. And I don't have to get it. It's their thing. I got weird things. My weird thing is I have this obsession with chess. I play chess all the time. And I ain't even particularly good at it. It's just something that I do. But I don't force it upon anybody. You know, it's just something that I do to settle my brain. It settles my mind. It settles a lot of things. And, you know, I think that your partners, if you have a good one, and they let you into their funny little world about who they are in their private times, and they tell you about all of their peccadillos, and they happen to tell you, oh yeah, by the way, I have a Lucky Charms fetish. I don't know why it's got to be Lucky Charms. I got like a My Little Pony.
They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
I you know, there's this weird thing that I do. I'm really into knitting, you know, or something. Hey, good for you. I would prefer that my partner have a hobby. And I don't even have to be involved in it. I'd probably prefer not to be involved because my hobbies are sacred. And like when I play chess, it's like this very competitive thing. And like when people try to play chess with me, like, I mean, it's cool, but like, just, I'm not going easy on you. Like if you're sitting up at the board, I want you to prepare for destruction. because I'm going to play you like you're Magnus Carlsen, and then we're going to do this thing. I mean, that's not even true, because there's times I have fun with it. I don't know, but it's important to me. It's something that I, if I let you into my chess world, it's like me showing you a sacred part of me that you wouldn't otherwise know unless you were in that circle with me. And so it could be an endearing thing, but do not, when you start trying to impose it on your partner, where it's like insufferable, and you're bringing it into the bedroom, and like you can't separate yourself from this medieval character that you've crafted because you've picked up at some flea market an old 1800 style lantern. The timing doesn't even fit, does it? I'm just saying.
This guy, it's not like this guy invited his girlfriend over, and he has a wall of lanterns that he's from different ages, and he can describe each one was made by a different artisan, and they all have their different things. It's this guy has this one lantern, and he's having fun and enjoying it. And it says recently, and recently can mean a lot of things, but I'm gonna go on the venture to say it's probably within a week, and she's already sick of it. But
yeah,
I would imagine if you wait another week, he might move on, because
here's the
people
thing.
Get like that.
I mean, she'll get used to it, right? Exactly what you said. She'll get used to it. She's either going to get used to it or it's going to be too much, and she will not. By the way, Luann, thank you for becoming a new member, and it's going to be a wild ride, but I'm glad that you're on. You guys don't know it, but I put up a goal. I forgot if it was 15 or 20 super chats. If we get 20 super chats, then we're each going to tell an embarrassing dating story. That's all I got. But I got one in mind. Okay. It's just dependent. It's dependent. And I did not get your guys' consent to share a funny story. So if you guys don't have anything, I will tell multiple. How about that? Oh, I got enough stories for everybody.
I love that.
I bet you. Look, man, I just feel like your partners having these things, if it's special to them, then let it be special to them. Like there is something that we all have that we use to escape. It could be a podcast that you listen to. It could be like you watch true crime shows, you watch documentaries, you're into music, you're into whatever weird thing you like is unique to you. To me, it's equivalent to like a mental or a personality or a psychological fingerprint. It tells me something about you to know that you're into anime. Like I'm picturing like Brad as like a 4-year-old kid, like getting really into like these cartoons and He-Man, and I don't know if He-Man was before your time or not.
He-Man was a little bit before me, but
yeah, that was my time. I was really into He-Man and She-Ra. I had the biggest crush
back
on
in the
Rainbow
60s.
Bright. Yeah. I'm just saying, man, these things are special. If your partner trusts you enough to share with you their weird thing, then cherish it and treasure it. Unless it becomes like a dangerous or unsafe somehow, like this weird medieval torture BDSM fantasy that he might try to pull out on you without letting you know ahead of time and giving you time to prepare or even consent to it. Anyway, I think we've answered this question, have we not?
So I will give one last piece on her.
Certainly.
If it bothers you that much that you want to post on Reddit about it, you're probably already done with it, and you're probably done with him. You're 26. You have all of the pick of the world right now. Go find another guy. It's really that simple.
Oh, at 26, they're right on the cusp, aren't they? They're right on the cusp of full brain development. I don't know, man. That's simple. You choose your partner. You learn more about them as you move on. If there's something you don't like, then get rid of them. Especially like Brad said, in your 20s, like find somebody else then. Maybe it's just not your bag, and that's okay.
If it's meant to be, it'll be. You can
if you don't
get
got
rid of
kids
it
and you're not married yet.
Decide all the other shit was a lot worse. And be like, hey.
I will guarantee you the lantern thing will be the least of your concern going into marriage, because
for sure.
you will find things in your relationship that will bother you to a core.
Yeah.
That you will have to choose to love the other person, and doing so means looking past it.
And you don't even have to look, they got to have their own escape. They need to have their own life away from you. Whatever their weird thing is, let them do their weird thing. It's no wonder, says, like learning about the human body and watching human anatomy stuff. I just got a lesson on vaginas earlier. And
Wow. Okay.
Oh, what?
well, the issue was whether or not vaginas were concave or convex. And then I'm like, aren't vaginas all kind of convex? Because if not, wouldn't they be like dented, like injured? And then the explanation was no, because there's like a vulva and then there's a vagina. It's like, you know what? I'm not smart enough to have this conversation. I'm just going to take your word for it.
Was that your mom?
Totally. It was my mom. All right, man. Let us move on. We have a serious family law issue to talk about. It's a short post, but I think that this one is worth sharing because there's so many of you folks. My practice is, I've had probably the busy January, February, probably through May is my busiest time of year, and I'm right in the middle of it. And so I get all of these cases, and when I get busy, it's usually because of issues surrounding domestic violence, SA, SH, straight up assault, straight up battery, straight up. My cases are heavy, and very oftentimes they weigh on me, and it gets me depressed. And I just straight up, as an attorney, like dealing with these cases, I get I don't want to say battle mental health, but it affects my mental health when I'm constantly inundated with these cases.
Yeah.
And
How
so
could it not?
yeah, it's just there's a couple of different kinds of attorneys out there. There are attorneys out there that they're just so infatuated with the law that the academics of it all is good enough. But for me, I'm just like I get attached to my cases emotionally. Like I get invested in my clients' stories.
It's hard.
And so I'll have clients that are coming to me as the victims of domestic violence. I'll have victims coming to me as the victims of false allegations of domestic violence or other stuff where mom is trying to erase dad from child's life or whatever, or vice versa, or every combination in between. So I really relate to this lady when she comes and look, it's a very simple paragraph, but it fits like 30% of the cases that I have on my desk right now. She says, I'm going through a custody battle with my abusive ex. It has been one challenge after another. He's been abusive to his mother, me, animals, but not directly to the child. So he still has visitation in the meantime. He started to allege in court, though, that I was the one who abused him. That's like the number one defense of a person that commits acts of domestic violence. It wasn't me, it was her. I was defending myself. But that's what happens. If you don't take certain actions ahead of time, then you will be the one accused of whatever abuse is going on. Cue up the Gabby Petito case. When she was stopped by the police and she's sitting there crying, and this effing guy, I forget his name, Brian Laundrie, has like a scratch on his face because she was like defending herself from getting slapped around. There was a witness that calls 911 and says, hey, I just witnessed a lady getting slapped around. And they stopped them and they were about to, I feel like if they were arresting anybody, it was going to be Gabby Petito. And they talked to Brian Laundrie's like, I don't know, man. She just gets like that sometimes. She gets crazy and you know how it is. And then the officer's like, yeah, I know how it is. When my wife gets like that, I just tell her to go take a shower. And then they legit told Gabby Petito to go take a shower. And it was like this, and it was so infuriating to watch. Just watch the body cam footage of that. I just showing that like a month ago.
It's terrible. It's like, I think we talked about this before. I think they genuinely like did the best they knew how to do, but it's abso-fucking-lutely infuriating to watch. Knowing
they tried
what happened.
I mean, not to get derailed again, but the law being what it is in Utah, they broke the law and they still got away with it. They seem like inexperienced cops. And I don't know. I don't want to get all infuriated all over again. But look, one of the reasons why I hate lawyers so much is because I feel like lawyers, more than anybody, especially dealing in this subject matter, have the ability to decipher between truth and untruths and kind of connect the dots. And then when I'll have a client that's the victim of domestic violence, be like, oh, so he slapped you around, huh? Like, and that was 3 years ago. And then you claim that it was going on for all these 3 years. And you claim that you were afraid of him, but you were so afraid that you stayed with him for that entire 3 years, didn't you? And then out of all those incidents that you alleged, not once did you call the cops. And then it's like, Your Honor, obviously she's a liar, because if she was really that afraid, she would have called law enforcement. She would have left the house. She would have, like, it was that simple, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, there's not a million other variables to consider psychologically about what's happening to somebody who's getting abused like that. And then when the cops get there and there happens to be a mark on the guy's face, maybe a defensive wound or something like that, and then he wants to press charges, it's always the fucking guys that want to press charges. She got out of control. She attacked me. She tried to stab me with a knife, and all I did was grab her wrist, arrest her, and then they will arrest her. And now they're facing misdemeanor charges of assault and battery that threatens to take away their ability to be the primary parent of their minor child and gives them the upper hand in the custody battle going forward. Mm-hmm. These are the cases that I have. So this is like textbook stuff that I see. This happens all the time. So she starts off, he has been abused with his mom and all these people. He has visitation in the meantime. He has started to allege in court, though, that I was the one who abused him and that I neglected our child. This is not true. My lawyer just scoffed at the allegation, but I can't help but feel discouraged and scared, especially since the judge still granted visitation overnights, even with all of the evidence. Has anyone been in? Yeah. Okay. So this is the situation. In almost all 50 states, there is law that instructs judges on how to handle situations when one party commits an act of domestic violence against the other party in front of the child, which is what looks like is going on here. In California, I know this is in New Jersey, but New Jersey is pretty similar to California in terms of their family code, with some exceptions. But in California, if you are found to have committed an act of domestic violence against the mother of your child, it is presumed that not only should you not have custody of your child, but if you are to have visitation with the child, it shall be supervised. And if you order anything other than supervised visitation, then you must give your reasoning on the record. Otherwise, it's null and void and, appeals and all of that. So it sounds like whatever was going on, they probably didn't get like an order of protection. There's never been a finding that he's committed any act of domestic violence in the court, which is why he has visitation with the child. But if your attorney is scoffing at it, look, it's not something to be scoffed at. You got to take that shit serious. I would request an evidentiary hearing to get to the bottom of it. And we could just litigate all of the instances. And I would have you sit on the witness stand and tell me, like it was just you and me in the room. I want you to take me through the timeline of events. I want you to tell me about every instance of domestic violence that you've experienced that you can remember at the hands of this man, and just spend like 3, 4, 6 hours testifying about it if you're afforded that time. And then he's going to say on cross-exam, no, bullshit, I didn't do this and that. It was taken out of context, whatever. I will tear his ass apart on cross-examination, or do my damnedest to, assuming that the facts support your case. So if you're telling me the truth, that you were the one that was abused and he was the one that was abusing you, and it was not the other way around, then the only way that I could really litigate this case is by relying on your truth. I don't know what happened. You know what happened, but you have to be confident enough to sit your butt down there in the witness chair and tell your story. And you're going to have to do it with him looking at you dead in the eye and the judge looking at you sideways, trying to look for evidence that you're not telling the truth. You're just going to have to trust that your version of the truth is going to prevail. And chances are, if you're not putting on a story, if you're not telling me some bullshit story about how he did this or that, then you have to trust that your story will prevail. Now, I can't guarantee that a judge is going to take your side because jury trials are not a thing in family court. So one person is going to be deciding these facts, and it's going to be a judge. And if you can't convince the judge that you are more credible than him, then you're going to have a tough time winning that case. And so it's so important. It is so important, if you were a victim of domestic violence, to document it as much as you can. Take pictures of injuries. You can video record or secretly record evidence of domestic violence. In California, there's an exception. It's a two-party state. But if you are recording somebody for the purpose of exposing domestic violence, it is an exception to the two-party rule. I could get that into court.
I didn't know that.
It's specific to California. I don't know if other states have it, but for our purposes in California, surreptitious recordings are admissible for the limited scope of showing a judge that domestic violence has occurred. I've used it many times. It is a tool. Specifically in these orders of protection, they will check a box that says that you could just outright record all communications with this guy because they want to catch instances of DV. So you got to document this stuff. And I know that for some of you, it's hard to speak up if you're being abused by your partner for a lot of reasons. It could be like maybe you're financially dependent. Where else are you going to go? Maybe you have been forced to live in a state where your family is thousands of miles away and he's literally your only, the only person that you know, and you have no money or means to support yourself. You're going to be homeless if you leave. If he gets thrown into jail, you're not going to have anybody to pay your bills. And you have a child together, and it's hard. You got to make some hard decisions. You have to trust that lawyers and judges have seen your story thousands of times and that we know what to do. But if you do nothing, then what you risk is him being able to come back into court and tell these stories that it was not him who was the abuser. It was you. And the judge ain't going to know who to believe because he's not going to have all of the documented evidence that I would ask you to get. And hey, spoiler alert, most people don't have perfect evidence.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is you might not know what to do with it right now, but if you are a victim of violence, document it as best you can. Videos, images, secret recordings, text messages. Keep everything in writing. Keep everything out in the open. Make sure that if he's doing anything to you, it's in front of a camera. Have cameras in your home, like inside. You have I got nanny cams. Put them conspicuously in your house so that no incident goes or occurs in secret. I will more than likely be able to get that in to your DV hearing and prove domestic violence, and we won't have to worry about this issue. So that's my soliloquy for that. You guys have anything to add?
I feel like you said all of it. It's like it was perfect.
I don't know. I think nanny cams in the bedroom come really hard to propose to the other person without feeling like you're going to end up becoming a porn star.
Fuck that. Put them in there. At your own peril. I mean, I know that there's jerks out there that'll publish stuff. I'm just saying. Sarah Dawn says, here's to baby Gingy losing the appeal in embarrassing stories. Hell yeah, there's 1 out of 20. We're making some progress anyway. We'll see. Anyway, that's what I have to say to people in that. I got a couple of more to get to. We've already been going for 54 minutes.
Washington is an all-party consent state, but they have a exception for emergency situations like threats of extortion, blackmail, or bodily harm. So
most states have that exception. It's the reason why cops can have these contextual phone calls and coerce criminals into talking about crimes that they committed and have them admissible in court. It's same in the family law context in most states. I can't say that every state has that, but most states have a version of that law. Anyway, so let's get into some of this other stuff. Schnitzel, are you still all kind of like excited about the gingerbread thing?
Not sure, but I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
Does it sound like I'm not paying attention?
Not at all. I'm still kind of like antsy about it myself.
I think Dave went live.
Yeah,
Did he really?
Yeah.
Of course I would. Well, All right, let's talk about this one. Here's another case. 38, 36. All right, let me find that one. So this guy's 38 years old. His wife is 36. And my wife hasn't initiated sex in over 3 years. I don't know what to do anymore. Says I'm at the end of my rope. Me?
No, not you. I know you. I'm talking about him.
Well, I don't know. I haven't even read the thing yet. He says he hasn't initiated. Okay, I don't know what to do. I'm at the end of my rope and I need advice. Believe it or not, folks, I know that I'm a family law attorney. I know that, but you have no idea how many times people come into my office and they tell me this story specifically. I just don't know what to do. My partner will not initiate. I think they're cheating on me. I feel like we're on the cusp. I just want to know my rights. I have those kinds of consults all the time. He says, I'm at the end of my rope. My wife has initiated in over 3 years. She never initiated much since the kids were born, but she still did enough. So for at least 3 years, she hasn't done it once. If I try, about 1 out of every 10 attempts will be successful. And out of the ones that are successful, it takes her a while to get into it if she does at all. Our relationship is good. Otherwise, she isn't acting any different towards me. She wants to spend time with me. She calls me every day during lunch just to talk, but she appears to have absolutely no desire for me at all anymore. I haven't put on weight or aged, and neither has she. So that's not it. She isn't cheating. She works from home, and I can look through her phone at any time. I can also track the phone, so that's not it. Her sex drive is not completely gone because I know she masturbates. She just bought a new vibrator a month ago.
Well,
I've tried talking. I've tried talking to her. I've tried talking to her about it a few times, but she just doesn't take it very seriously. I'm not willing to divorce over this. I'm not breaking up my family for sex, but it's beginning to depress me. It's a hard pill to swallow that my wife may no longer be physically attracted to me. I don't know what else to say. Well, I think here's what happens. This is what I think happens. When you have children, all of the variables change. All of them. Her body changes pretty drastically. Your body might change drastically. I remember my wife was pregnant, for no reason at all. I just I gained 15 pounds. Like from what? Like I wasn't even out of shape. It's just like I'd been 185 for like 10 years. And then I jumped up to 205. I was like, your scale's fucking broken. Like, nope, that's what you had. I don't know what that's about, but it happens. People's bodies change, their motivations change. Now you're going from supporting the relationship that you two have fostered together through dating and through the early parts of your marriage to now you're trying to keep this little effing kid alive. And the kid is needy. And like every 10 minutes, they need something else. They're expensive. Every waking moment is devoted towards curing the needs of this child. It leaves these desires to please you just at the background. They're in the background. And her motivations are changing. Your motivations are changing. Like, it's not just men that are affected. Like, oh, she doesn't initiate. Sometimes it goes the other way around. Why does that happen? There's not really a good explanation for it, other than just, look, the rules are different, man. The rules are different. You're going to have to go through a period of your relationship where you're not looking at her as like this sexual thing anymore. And she's not looking at you as like this sexual thing anymore. Like, I find that with women that are married, that have kids, whatever they used to be attracted to, it changes. Like when they used to be attracted to like, oh, the washboard abs and whatever, he's so athletic and, whatever physical thing. Now they're like attracted to you, like you know how to landscape, you know how to mow the lawn. Like if you wash the dishes, if you do household chores, it's like helping around the house. That does it for her because she's exhausted, man. And she's taking care of the kids or your kid. And so it's not that, well, I don't want to say it's not that things have changed. Things have definitely changed. But look, you're going to go through this period where she might just not be all that interested in you for right now. And maybe she ain't attracted to you. That could be for a million different reasons. I don't know. I don't know what it is that she has an issue with. Maybe it's because she's exhausted. Maybe she doesn't want to go through the physical rigmarole of having to have sex with you. And you're taking it as rejection. Maybe it's because you keep pestering her about it. And I know that because you're like keeping track. Like 10% of the time she agrees. 90% of the time I get rejected. And you probably keep making it a big deal in the relationship. It's just, I feel like if you're going to stay married to somebody, if you really want to stay married to your partner, you have to develop this skill of observing and diagnosing the changing tides. And when you have kids, it's no longer about you and her. And sometimes when she thinks about you, I bet you she's not thinking about you the same way she used to. I bet it's probably like all of the things that she's had to do today, and she's perceiving you as not having to have done any of those things. And maybe you're fighting your own battles. Maybe you're working 10, 12-hour days and putting in your work, and your work is just different. Like she's doing her job and you're doing yours, and she can't see you doing your job. She knows that she's suffering. And she knows that probably when you get home, like you're exhausted and you don't change diapers or you don't clean up after yourself, and she's having to clean up after you, and she's asking you to do chores that you haven't done for a long time. Who effing knows, man? But if that's what's going on, you can't expect her to be all excited about giving you a blowjob in the middle of the night, because fuck all of that. She needs her sleep. She's tired and she's probably pissed at you. And if you let that go on for too long, then it becomes less like this temporary thing, and she just starts referencing you at top of mind as this annoying thing, as opposed this uncooperative partner, as opposed to you guys being a team and raising this child together. And I'm not even saying that he's doing anything wrong. For all I know, the guy's working 12-hour days and putting in just as much time and effort as she is. But his efforts might not be as seen as hers, in her mind, anyway. And so really what it boils down to is you got to have this communication about how your family has changed, about how the marriage dynamic has changed now that we have this child. You have to try to find a way to continue to date your partner. Do the babysitter thing. Plan dates. Like even just like going to a restaurant, like going out to like I don't know. You got to continue to have you and her time, because if you don't, then it's just you, her, and kid time, and she's going to be constantly exhausted and tired and pissed off. And then at the end of it, you're trying to initiate sex. It's like, fuck all of that, dude. I'm tired. My back hurts. My feet hurt. Whatever. All of these things.
One of my favorite lines from either Jeff Foxworthy or Bill Engvall was, you want to spice things up in your marriage? Go plan a date night, but don't keep it a secret. Tell her early, because each time that your wife tells another person about the date night, she then, it was Mark Gungor, a marriage, or he's a pastor who gives marriage seminars, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage. And he calls it the counter. Every time that she tells someone else, you increment your counter each time, because she's excited for the date that you've planned and all of the things that you've done and put in the work and effort in order to do it. And each time she tells that story only helps you in the end.
If your wife doesn't have something to look forward to, it gets really dark really fast. It just does. And Aquanetta, thank you so much for the 10. She says, let's go with the super chats. I want to hear the story. Love you, Omar. I love you too, Aquanetta. What do you think about all this, Schnitzel?
I think what you said is really accurate. I will say, like, the one thing that I would take issue with her here is with her here is that she's not willing to talk about it really. Like she's not taking it seriously, but we also don't know how OP is presenting the situation to her.
Yeah.
Like we can give him the benefit of the doubt.
And we don't know how he's talking about it. He's like, maybe he's like hey, so how about a little head? And she's like, are you effing serious? You can't even take out the trash. You didn't even mow the lawn. You didn't do this and that. With all of that. No, I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but you never know. Sometimes guys are dumb.
Yeah. And yeah. All I'll say is yeah.
I'm not going to say that women are not sometimes dumb, but men are definitely dumb sometimes. I am also guilty of that myself.
I think they have a hard time reading the room sometimes.
Yeah,
women can too. I know I'm not trying to be sexist, but especially after having a baby and all of the things that change in your body, things you can't control and things that just are different and that just will always be different. And sometimes have to remember that the man doesn't go through those same types of changes, but hopefully you're with someone who can sense that, or at least if you tell them that they can remember that and take it into consideration in their interactions with you and their requests for things like this.
Well, I feel like men need to be mentally prepared. I feel like it's a really smart thing to do. Like if you're pregnant with your spouse, to go through counseling right then and there before shit even starts, because he needs to understand that her desires are going to change, her needs are going to change, and he's probably going to feel a little bit neglected because her focus is on the child. It's not going to be on him.
Right.
In the whole relationship, he's experienced her doting on him, paying attention to him, and catering to his needs. And now this child is taking that place, and he is being replaced by this child. And for most men that are not prepared for that, it's a striking thing to experience in real time because it feels like rejection. And if you don't have that conversation ahead of time, or at least have the intellectual knowledge that it's going to occur, then it's real easy to start feeling sorry for yourself and to start having this conversation. I don't get it. Every time I try to initiate, she doesn't do anything. She doesn't want to do anything. She masturbates, but she won't initiate sex with me. I don't understand. Is she not attracted to me? She might not be attracted to you because of a million different reasons. And if you don't have a conversation with her about it, and if she's not, if you don't phrase it like that, because he's probably bringing up about, so we haven't had sex in like 4 months. What's up with that? If you phrase it like that, then you're not going to really get very far in communication. You got to approach it more intellectually. You got to approach it with more empathy than that. Otherwise, you're not going to make progress. It's only going to get worse. Oh, is it going to get worse? And you're going to end up in my office. And it's going to be like, oh, fuck, I don't know what to do. I feel like she's cheating on me. Or, and she probably will be. I mean, I don't want to say probably, but you never know. But that's where stories like this inevitably end if nothing is done about it at an earlier stage. Because it's really hard to recover from this period of time where you stopped looking at him as this attractive thing or a person that you're attracted to, and you get used to being attracted to him. And then it just stays that way. And then what? And then when your body's all back together, and then, when your body has healed and a couple of years have gone by, a few years have gone by, and your brain hasn't shifted from looking at him as this unattractive thing, then what do you expect is going to happen if it's not remedied somehow through communication or some other means? Brad, you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, guys will very quickly say that for 3 minutes, they can get that post-nut clarity that will last for hours that helps reduce some of their anxiety or stress. But then if they, or if you say your wife would need that same 3 minutes, then they would balk at it and say that, no, they aren't allowed it. So there is that piece to it as well. But I think better communication would be if she's using devices to replace him, then that would be a valid topic for discussion.
Oh, maybe her device is more attentive than him.
Or
maybe she's going to get more pleasure from that than trying to fiddle around with the dumb F over here who doesn't know what a convex vagina is.
Well, it says multiple kids, so I would hope that he does, but
P. Mahone, thank you for the suit. She says, is her office their bedroom? I don't know what that question means.
If she's working in the bedroom, then she's negatively associating the bedroom with work, and then she would not want to initiate while she's there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe sometimes you could turn the office into like a,
We don't want to hear what happens at your law firm.
Oh, nothing happens in my office. For sure. I'm just saying, there's different settings for different things. By the way, Redondo Beach has been a member for 5 months. She says, best 5 months ever. Thank you so much, Redondo. I appreciate you being with me for 5 months. And I appreciate your contributions. You're here all the time. And it feels like your family now. It really does. What do you think about that theory? Is the office the bedroom? What do you think about that, Schnitzel?
I think subconsciously that kind of stuff can affect you. So I think also, yeah. I'm just thinking, who wants to be in their bedroom all day working?
Yeah, I could not.
Even if it's like, I know some people turn their like bedroom closet into like a little office. Like even that for me would be like, I would want something like completely separate. Like I like the way my house is set up. Like our office, we have this like, I don't know how long it is, 12-foot long thing that we inserted into we built it into the wall, into the studs. Mm-hmm. So there are no like legs on it, where both of our computers, we both have 2 monitors. So we just have this like big spread out like situation down here, and it's like away from like everything else in the house. So it's nice. It just feels like it's like its own separate space.
I'll tell you what, I once tried to work from home. There's no fucking way. I can't. I just can't. I can't. Because like when I'm home, I want to be home. I don't want to be thinking about work, Mm-hmm. And even like streaming from home has been like a challenge, just because like, I'm not in streaming mode. I've had to like learn to navigate between the two.
IT is so different. It's, you're on the call all the time, whether you like to think so or not. So it's just different for me. So I make the best of what I do.
Hell yeah. So all right, folks, I got one more case. And then after this, I think I'm going to have to go live about, I think we're going to do the appeal. I'm going to hit up Lauren.
Lauren's doing a 9:45. She pushed it back because Dave went live.
Oh, you know what? I'll get on the horn with her to see how she wants to handle this. Maybe we'll dual stream or something. Horn. Get on the fucking horn. All right. It's a breaking news. Okay, this is our last case of the day. And we're kind of flying through this show. It usually takes us a lot longer to get through these things. All right. This post is, this guy's 37, his wife is 37. They've been together for 15 years, married for 10. We have 2 kids together. Today, I found out she had an affair that lasted about a year, some 10 years ago. So right off of the bat, it's not that it's been an affair that's been ruminating in his mind for 10 years. He's finding out about it for the first time. And so all of the associated psychological damage is all happening right now in real time. Have either of you guys ever dealt or had to deal with infidelity in your relationships or otherwise?
No.
I went through a period where I cheated. on a couple of people.
Schnitzel, how dare you?
No, it's like, it's wrong and you feel bad about it, but I didn't know why I was doing it. And so I think I've talked with Omar about this before. Like, I spent a summer just analyzing why I would do that, because of course I'd be very hurt if it happened to me. And I'd be pissed if I found out. And I don't think anyone would enjoy that feeling, right? Like, we can imagine what it would feel like. And I knew that wasn't the person I wanted to be. And I knew it wasn't the person I wanted my future child or children to know who I was. I wasn't proud of it, and I wanted it to change. So yeah, I spent a summer just figuring out like what my purpose in life was, like who I was. And anyway, I realized it was because I was afraid of being alone. And so while I knew the relationship I was in currently wasn't the relationship for me, I was still afraid to end it because I knew that meant I would be alone, and I'd have to heal alone, and I have to be sad alone and go through all of that. And so I had the tendency to just go from relationship to relationship out of that fear. And once I figured that out and accepted that and was able to work on it, I had like much healthier relationships moving forward and was able to set more boundaries for myself and like accept reality more readily than I had been before.
That's kind of deep, man.
Yeah, I know. I was like, are you going to go straight to that super chat after that?
No. I just clicked on that instantly. I was like considering what you were saying.
You're like, a $4.99 from Redondo.
$4.99 from Redondo. Thank you so much for Schnitzel for the story. Boo-hoo, thank you, ma'am. No, like what you said, you went from relationship to relationship because you were trying to, you didn't want to feel alone.
Yeah.
And then I was considering that, like, when I experienced it, I was a young man. I was in my 20s. And so I got married when I was 20. I was 22. When I was 22, I feel like men, especially when they're young, they have divergent paths that they can travel. And there was definitely a period of time where I can relate to that, where my first wife, I mean, Jesus, I was like 25. We had like a 1-year-old, and then I found out that she was cheating on me with like this 46-year-old dude from the church. And like there was like all kinds of emotions that swam through my brain. Like back then I was much more combat oriented because I had just got done. And so with my competitive, whatever I was doing, martial arts, whatever, my initial thought was, I'm going to kill everybody, Then you got to calm down from all of that. And there's like the initial mourning that comes with the knowledge of what happened. For what reason were you cheated on? It doesn't even effing matter. Like there's no rationalizing why a 20-something-year-old would cheat on their 20-something-year-old partner. You're not going to make any sense of it that's going to like fix the hurt that you feel. And I remember going up to the mountains, and I remember trying to cope with the knowledge of what happened and try to it would have been a really good time to be tripping balls on mushrooms. You know what? In retrospect.
Tripping concave vaginas.
Tripping concave vaginas. It just it was a time of self-exploration. I went to these mountains and I meditated by myself and just examined where my life was going. Yeah, I just there was definitely a period of time where I could have been turned into a villain, where it was like I could definitely see being angry and just going from relationship to relationship, using women for your own devices, and skeptical of ever finding anything meaningful from these relationships, and therefore just doing your own thing. There is definitely a time for that, but in your 20s is usually what that's kind of reserved for anyway. In your 20s, you're supposed to be selfish in your relationships, and that's how you kind of figure out what you like and what you want and what you're willing to give. Most importantly, the problem that I had is I got married when I was 22, like a dipshit 22-year-old that didn't know anything, And then neither did she. Neither one of us had any business being married, but we were.
You don't realize that at the time, though. I mean, a lot of people don't.
Yeah. You don't realize it until it happens. And then when it happens, you got to deal with it. But as you get older, you realize just how unimportant that whole time period was, like how insignificant the events were. And all it really represented was a means to evolve as a man and to learn some truths about the universe that you wouldn't have otherwise, which is consistent with what all 20-year-olds go through, whether they're married or dating or screwing around or whatever they're doing, man. And so, but when I went through that time period, I specifically recall after being divorced, I'm never getting married, and I would go from relationship to relationship. And then for me, it was, there was like a block on my ability to emotionally connect with a partner because of the hurts that were experienced when I was a younger man. And I had to evolve out of that and learn how to dig myself out of that. And then when I found one that was worth keeping around, that I wanted to invest in, then I learned how I had to change the way that I communicated. I had to relearn how to communicate and relearn how to open up my emotional channels to become available for my partner, and more importantly, for my daughters. And so there's trauma that happens. And this guy's experiencing it as a 37-year-old. I can't speak to that. I can only speak to what happened to me when I was like 25. And Brad says, I've never been cheated on. Who would ever cheat on Chad Braddington?
Whether I know I was cheated on is a different story.
True.
However,
yeah. And I have I think I was cheated on by this at least one person, probably two people, but I never confronted it. I think I didn't want to know for sure, like at that point in my life.
But Schnitzel, I also used relationships as a means to cope with my loneliness as well. I called myself a womanizer throughout high school and early in my military career because I really didn't like the idea of being alone, and I needed that feeling of having someone there to spend all of my non-work time with in order to feel fulfilled as a person. And it really hurt for a long time.
Yeah. And it's like you don't ever actually get what you're looking for by doing it that way. I mean, like it's momentary, like fulfillment, but like deep down,
whether it was like 2-week relationships in high school or I had a relationship that lasted a weekend. That's how long it went. Like,
by the way, check out my girls at the beach.
Oh, look at them cuties.
Oh, cute. Oh, looks like nice weather too.
I mean,
California, there's always
it's nice
weather.
It's bad weather, but for the country standards, it's pretty effing good.
Aw. Are they having a good time?
They're doing their girls trip thing. They're having a blast.
Good.
What was I going to say? Let's get into this story. So, due to some recent discussions, I grew suspicious of some past behavior, and so today, while she's at work, I had to look for what might have transpired over the course of our marriage in connection to the times alarm bells rang. It would be an understatement to say that I regret even looking. By the look of things, it seems she had an affair that started just a couple of months after our wedding and lasted roughly a year. I don't have exact dates, but I can more or less pinpoint the end as I confronted her about some stuff that felt off, and she swore there was nothing to it. When I put some pieces together, mail, chats, missing correspondence for select periods, it quickly became apparent that nothing had actually been something. And in the end, I found some chats that hadn't been deleted. The chats were not overly intimate, but involved dates where the two agreed to meet in parks and whatnot. Jesus. but not blatant and obvious, but more than enough to figure out the big picture. We both agreed since before getting married that even meeting with someone of the opposite sex was without the other knowing is low-key cheating. And it turns out she's been doing that at the very least for an extended period of time. I don't think there has been anything after this as we moved countries and such, but who knows? Those of you who have been in the same situation, would you be so kind as to give me some advice? I need to confront her for my own mental health and for the sake of rebuilding trust, but would like to do so with the intention of forgiving her. Just lay it bare. I know what happened. Any tips on how to avoid being trickle-truthed or gaslit? Okay, I'll give him some advice. That 27-year-old lady that cheated on him has been dead for a long time. She's morphed into this 37-year-old person. Y'all have been together for 10 years. You got a couple of kids together. She wasn't clearly ready to get married. She wasn't. She was on the cusp of, the formation of her her frontal cortex. And she obviously had reservations about you. And in the course of those insecurities that she had in your relationship, and in the course of her reservations about marrying you, you guys built a family together anyway. And you got these two little shits that you have, these two children. And this thing happened 10 years ago. I guess the main question is, was that the only thing that happened, or was it carrying on for 10 years? It seems to me that he's had enough time and energy and the resources to do his own private investigation. So if it was an isolated thing that happened 10 years ago, here we are, it came out. I forget, did he confront her about any of this at all? Or is this something that he's just keeping on his chest?
I don't think he said anything.
Yeah.
You see, she hadn't fully came out and said that she did, so it's still in this pre-phase, which I think what they really should do is try counseling and bring up those things. And if she continues to deny it in counseling, then you would have a bigger problem.
I'm very skeptical of counselors and how much they could actually really help in this situation. Look, you got a wife, and she's, for whatever reason, stuck by your side. Maybe it's because of the kids. That's true. Hey, guess what? On average, the person that you're married to is you're going to lose attraction for them at some point. I don't think that there's a married couple out there where that's not a true statement. And there's a million reasons why that happens. And if she was on the fence about you to begin with at 27 years old, and she went and did whatever she did for 10 years, and then she stopped it, look, there was some growing up that she needed to do. I'm not going to say that it doesn't hurt, but you got to make a decision, because look, here's the bottom line. You want to get divorced over something that happened 10 years ago, that's on you. You can come into my office and I'll file the paperwork for you. But we're going to have to figure out what's going to happen with them kids. Who's going to be the primary parent?
Yeah.
Where are you guys going to live? Where are the children going to go to school? What's the visitation schedule going to be like? Do you even have a schedule where you could accommodate a 50-50 parenting schedule? If you get divorced, is she going to move out of state because she's not from this state? Is she going to try to ace you out of the children's life and become a gatekeeper parent? The biggest issue with people wanting to divorce their partners when they have children, more often or not for men, is that they lose access to their children. And for whatever your views on feminism or whatnot, majority of the time, the man is the one that works and the woman is the one that stays home with the children. I'm not saying that's every case, but it's most cases. And when that is the case, they get to be the primary parent, and then you get to pay child support. That's just how it goes. And you're not going to have time. Look, you work 40, 50 hours a week. You're not going to have time to have, we're just do a week on, week off schedule. Yeah, you could do that. Or she could continue to be raised by the primary parent, which is mom, the way that the children have always been. And the courts will be like, well, we're going to maintain the status quo. And then you're going to have every other weekend, or maybe the first, third, and fifth weekends of the month, maybe the first, third, and fourth weekends of the month, midweek visits. You have to plan for extracurricular activities. Now it's just, the wars that you're going to have to fight that you're not even considering right now because you're blinded by your insecurities and your jealousy and the mourning of knowing and realizing that your partner hasn't been faithful the entirety of your marriage. And that's a tough spot to be in. It's just like I had another conversation with one of my clients yesterday. He's like, look, I know what just happened sucked, but you need to pull your shit together. Because the reality is that this is happening. And in 3 weeks, I need you to be ready to go. And I don't want to hear any of this emotional bullshit because it's going down whether or not you're emotional about it or not. You'll have time to be emotional about it. But right now, I need your full focus on what we got to do. And that's a hard conversation to have with somebody. But that's a conversation that we need to have with this guy right now. Because he wants to move on from his wife. Yeah, go for it. You just understand the war that you're starting by doing that. So look, maybe you'll never be able to go to the fact that she cheated on you 10 years ago. Maybe. And I can't even blame you for not getting over it. I can't. I'm not here to litigate the morality of the situation. I'm here to tell you about the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation is, if you want to do this, we can, but you are starting World War III and you don't even know how yet this is going to affect your life. So it's worth it to just take a pause and to try to separate yourself from the hurt and the emotion, however long it takes. At some point, you're going to have to confront her with this information. And you guys are going to have some honest conversations that you never anticipated having. And when you do that, I'm sure you guys are going to come to some conclusions. I can't tell you to forgive her, and neither can she. That's completely dependent on you and your ability to do that. But if you can't, are you going to become mortal enemies? Are you going to try to say that, you know what, she's a whore, I want full custody of the children because I don't trust the men that she's going to be around? That's one of the most common arguments that I hear from aggrieved fathers similarly situated. Is she going to say, you know what, I don't trust that piece of shit, and you know what, I've been abused. He's been emotionally abusing me for years. Why do you think I cheated? And now you got a domestic violence case on your hands where you may lose the ability to have visitation with your children unsupervised, and you may lose certain parental rights because you're found to be an abuser because she convinced some judge that you were emotionally abusing her. You never know. Sometimes judges are dumb. And so your problems are much deeper than you could possibly know. What do y'all think about all of that wild endorsement that I just gave for, I don't know, what is an endorsement for?
Well, it's interesting because I feel like tonight, like, I'm actually on the same page as you with a lot of what you've been saying. So it's like, I'm like, yeah.
Usually you're like, you know what, some of the stupid shit that comes out of your mouth.
I don't, but you're being very reasonable tonight.
I feel like I'm being reasonable every night. What the fuck does that mean?
No, you don't have any of your hot takes tonight.
Well, maybe not. Maybe I've dialed it back a little bit. So we got a little bigger audience than we normally have, and so I'm trying to be more, you know.
So I think the one thing is, if you're not going to go to counseling on it, and
hey, go fake yourself. Megan is here with a $4 super sticker. I'm sorry, I answered a question earlier. I just had to interrupt the show. And really, Brad, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brad, but she was here. I specifically, the first part of our show was specifically for her. So I'm thrilled that she's here.
But because my only reason for suggesting the counseling is because it offers the safe space for her to come out and say the things. But if your ultimate goal is forgiveness, would saying, I've seen these text messages and I have this thought of that something occurred 10 years ago, but I just want to let you know that I forgive you for that, and I'm proud of where we are now and where we're putting our life on the path to be.
Well, could I just say, I hear what you're saying, Brad. I really do. But the danger of saying specifically that is you run the risk of her looking at you saying that and not invalidating your feelings, appreciating what you said, but looking at you as weak. I've seen women have men take the position that you just said. Look, it was 10 years ago. It's fine. I forgive you. I still love you, and no consequences, no penalties, whatever. And then it's like, you know what? My husband's a cuck. And I don't know if I want to be married to such a weak man. It's a double-edged sword.
There's a dichotomy there. There's cuck, and then there's I didn't know my wife cheated on me. A cuck
I use it
implies
artfully.
that, yeah.
I know what you mean, but I use that perhaps out of bounds. But my point is that I've seen women hear their men say that and then proceed to now relabel them as weak. And then it's like, well, lose attraction for them that way in some regards. It's a complex double-edged sword.
Well, it's weird that he would suddenly fall down this path where he suddenly got to play private investigator on 10 years ago actions.
Yeah.
Like it's just weird to be like, no, I've got to get to the bottom of this right now and go through text messages, emails, computer files to try and dig up this scenario where my wife may or may not have cheated on me 10 years ago.
South Florida says, no, Omar, you're old school on that one. Well, maybe I am. I mean, I'm not speaking for all women. I'm just saying I've seen clients in my office specifically say stuff like that. The only reason I'm bringing it up, that's all. It's complicated, man. Pretend Judge says, now we're supposed to stay off all trailways and trail. Oh, she said something else. Craziest stuff going on by me. Living country next to Appalachian Trail. Last night, lady came home, an injured man inside home. He succumbed to injuries this morning. Pretend Judge, I don't know what you're talking about, man. It's not. I thought it was going to be on topic. It is not. That was my fault. I blame myself, as I normally. Jackie Graham says, forgiveness is not a statement, but a real state of being. It's a journey. Like grief or love, it's never permanent. Yeah, you can't just say, I declare that I forgive you and expect anything to happen. It's like Michael Scott in The Office. I declare bankruptcy. You can't just say that, and just expect that's how it's going to work.
You know what? I don't have to answer to you. You ain't my bitch.
But I said on FLAD last time, forgiveness is not a it is truly a point of trying not to hold something over someone else, and that's where the true forgiveness comes from. Because if you try and continually put it over someone's head, then you've not forgiven them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Forgiveness is not a one-time thing. It's like more or less an everyday thing. To your point and to Jackie's point, it's a journey. Like grief or love, it's never permanent. You're never going to look at her the same way. She's always going to be this lady that did this thing 10 years ago. She's never going to be the princess that you thought she was. And if a man cheats, they're never going to be the same in her eyes either. And so if they forgive, fine. But now there's this new variable that is permanent. And as much as they try to say that they forgive or they forget or whatever, it never really goes away, man. Forgiveness is an everyday kind of thing. You got to make the decision to forgive every single day. And some days you're not going to forgive. And you're going to have bad days. And you're going to feel it. And it's going to affect your marriage. It's just how it works. Because humans are complicated. And life is short. And 10 years ago wasn't that long ago. It just wasn't. By the way, Megan says, thank you for addressing it. The CRD right to sue notice said she had 30 days, but if you read BL's motion to dismiss from 320, more note the answer to JB's relief. She never intended to sue in federal court. That might be true. But to be completely honest, Megan, my mind is not right there anymore. at this moment. I'm on this other thing. But I hope that I did justice to your question. I hope I did. I appreciated your question. It was a good one. What do you think about that, Schnitzel, about this idea that forgiveness is an everyday thing? You can't just do it in the moment in like the therapist office and expect anything to happen.
I mean, I think it depends on what like the offense is. And like some people are triggered by certain things that others aren't, and vice versa. So I mean, I know for me from therapy sessions, it's been like sometimes I felt in the session that I'm okay with things, and then I realize afterwards that I'm actually not yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, other times it's like almost like a light bulb moment where it's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And then I can take that with me. So I don't know. I feel like it's maybe different for everyone in certain ways. But like, yeah, like infidelity is not gonna be like, the therapist says, like, oh, you should forgive them or something like that. And you're like, yeah, okay. Like this situation, like that kind of thing, I think would definitely take more conversations.
Like they have those tricks, right? Where it's like, I want you guys to get naked and like hug each other for 10 minutes and look into each other's eyes.
Why does that sound so terrible to me right now?
That was legit advice that I was once given by a therapist.
What?
It was an exercise, a couples exercise, and it was stupid.
I don't want you staring at me for 10 minutes.
Brad, I'm not hugging you naked ever.
Now that I want to see on stream. Next FLAD.
I will say that I've had a really bad, I've been in therapy. I've had therapy sessions where I've legit just told therapists, you know what? I don't think you're very smart. I don't think that you're really even listening to what's going on. I think that what you're saying is stupid. And I feel like I don't trust you with what we're talking about right now. And you can, well, I mean, I've legit had those sessions. I feel like every therapy session I've ever had, I've always been combated with the therapist. I don't know what that's about.
I sat with a counselor for a long time when I was in the military, but I never felt like I was in battling back and forth, but that was more for mental health things. But there was a lot of relationship dynamics that I talked about in that.
Squinty Bubbles has this very interesting scripture. Not to get religious, but she says, Jesus tells Peter to forgive not 7 times, but 70 times 7, emphasizing the need for limitless and unwavering forgiveness, not a specific number of times, and otherwise it's an ongoing thing. And that was written like 2,000 years ago, or 1,800 years ago, or whatever you think about the dates of the book of Matthew.
By a human, from a human. Just kidding.
I know what you mean. Just kidding. By the way, I had the Dead Sea Scrolls tour coming to LA, and I saw like the original Dead Sea Scrolls, and it is striking how insignificant they look.
You're in LA?
Yeah. Like literally just these little scraps of paper.
It's like the Mona Lisa that's like so like it's so infamous, but it's so underwhelming when you see it in person.
Yeah.
It's smaller than you think. It's like
way smaller.
Yeah. Anyway, it made me think of that.
No, but I feel you on that because I'd been interested in the Dead Sea Scrolls since I was a kid, and then I saw it in person. It's like, it's literally just like a ripped up piece of paper. That's all it is. That's all it is. And I did not get like this thought that this was written by the hand of God.
Well, the scrolls themselves were not written by the hand of God. The scrolls are the continuation of the knowledge that got passed down in multiple forms of the account of Matthew.
But the scripture says that man is the pen and God is the word. And the word is, never mind. Never mind. I know what you're saying. I totally do. Anyway, for this guy, look, he's got some things he's going to have to work out, man. He's got some things he's going to have to forgive or not. He's going to have to make some real decisions as it pertains to his life. But look, you can bail on your marriage if you want to, but there are real repercussions to doing that don't favor you. You're going to have to give up half of your shit. You're going to lose access to your children, and you're going to become a visitation kind of dad. because you're offended about something that happened 10 years ago. And so, look, if that doesn't appeal to you, then you got to figure out how to move forward. And this idea of forgiveness, it's not a one-time thing. It's a forever kind of thing. Like, you're still going to feel aggrieved by it when you're in your 80s. It's just how it is human nature to feel that. You don't have an easy path ahead of you. I by no means am saying that it's easy or it's going to be easy or that you're even going to be able to pull this off. But if you don't want to get divorced, like you said, then it's going to take an enormous amount of growth and maturity, wisdom, and empathy on your parts. And if you choose to let it go, then you got to fucking let it go. And you cannot keep throwing it in her face every time it would be advantageous in an argument. Because that's a quick way to, to trickle down the marriage, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Death by 1,000 cuts. You can't think that because she had this thing that she did 10 years ago that you get to write the rule book of the marriage, that you get to control her life, that you get to make the rules in the marriage and lord it over her, because it's just a quick way to just say, you know what, it ain't worth it. I can't. I fucked up. I'll try again with the next one. And that's what she's going to do because she's young enough. She's like 37. Now, if she was 57, she might think differently, but 37, bro, she's got plenty of time to find somebody else. And so do you, for that matter. So you're going to have to make some big boy decisions.
Just
Not
kidding.
you.
Just
My
kidding.
God. You're going to have to make some big boy decisions and live with whatever you decide. And with that, folks, I think I've answered that question. Do you guys have any parting words for this young man?
No.
If
Okay.
you're not, well, I would say if you're not ready to destroy the foundation you've built 10 years on, try to start that path to forgiveness and continue building your life. You've already been doing it. Continuing to do it is going to be a lot easier than trying to forge a new path as a single father.
For sure. And yeah, like he has to decide what he wants. Does he want to forgive her? Or does he want to be single and find somebody else?
Well, he's going to have good and bad days in that regard.
Well,
sometimes.
For sure. But it's almost like if you are like a smoker and you decide you're going to quit smoking, like you have to decide, like, you know, if you want to quit smoking, it's like, okay, well, you need to decide you're going to quit. Are you going to quit or are you going to keep going? What do you want?
Yeah.
And you have to commit to that decision. And that takes that work every day, whether it's hard or not. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. And you know that. But you have to decide what it is in the first place that you want. Do you want that relationship, knowing what's happened over the past 10 years or however long it was after that happened? Does he still want the relationship? If he does, then he has to forgive her. And he has to work through that.
Yeah. And then there's going to be times where it's like, you know what, I do forgive her. Or something. There's going to be times that I don't forgive her.
Yeah.
And there's going to be times where it's like, you know what, I'd rather just be single. It'd be so much easier to be single.
And he can tell her that, like, if they talk about it and they're going to work through it, he could tell her, like, today's a really hard day for me. Like, I'm not feeling close to you today. And I am really feeling like the pain from what I discovered and knowing that you did that. I just need to share that with you.
And it's really important that he does that too.
Yeah.
He has to do that. He has to do that if it's going to work at all.
Yeah.
Just be honest with his feelings.
Exactly.
Because she has to look, there's consequences. There's going to be consequences forever as long as they're in a relationship because of what happened. She can't take it back, and neither could he.
Mm-hmm.
She can't blame him for being upset.
Yeah.
And he has to be honest with her.
Did you hear that?
What was that?
Our doors are set to lock at a certain time, and my husband apparently left the back door unlocked, and so it just started like turning on its own, and I was like,
oh,
it sounded like a drill or something.
Yeah, it's like this mechanical like.
Sounded like you ate something funny. It's like, what was that?
Did you go for the vegan Taco Bell again? I told you not to.
Oh, it's scary. I almost have stuff coming out of both ends from being very startled by that happening.
Jesus Christ. All right, folks, I'm going to take about 5 minutes and then I'm going to go live on this gingerbread stuff. The Laura Owens appeal has been officially denied. I'm going to work this out with Lauren. Maybe we'll dual stream, but I'm going live. I'm going to talk about this appeal and we're going to figure out. So I hope you guys stick around for that. Do you guys want to join in and like dance on Gingerbread's grave?
Yeah, I sent you the link in private chat to her. She has a StreamYard link.
Oh, nice. Okay, I will.
She said if you're amenable to that, we could all join that.
Yeah, join it. We'll do that, and then I will. Yeah, let's do that.
Brad's got to get some ice cream. We'll do 5-10 minute break.
Yeah, take a break, and then I'm gonna figure this out with Lauren, and then
be there.
I'll see you guys in there. This is gonna be a fun one. I've been waiting for this one for months. I cannot wait.
I'm so excited.
Oh, I got my shovel. I'm ready to.
I can't wait for that.
Like, yeah, gingerbread, bitch. What you want to do an interview right now?
Dirt on his grave, not to do anything that could inflict harm.
No. Metaphorical shovels. Oh, you know what? I should call him and say, "Hey, so do you want to talk about the appeal?"
Call him.
You should. I would.
Come on and do an interview?
Would pay money to be a fly on that wall.
Oh boy!
Well, all apparently right, his ex went private.
Of course it did. It did.
My stuff's been blowing up like the last hour. I've been trying to pay attention, but it's just.
I know. Well, we're gonna get into all of it right now because I ain't got nothing better to do on a Friday night. Let's do this shit.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, folks. I'll see you guys at the Lauren stream. I'm gonna text her real quick. Doesn't matter if you join her stream or for dual stream. Just join something. Sweet. It'll be the same thing.
All right. Awesome. Maybe see you guys there.
All right. See you guys in about 5 to 10.
Bye.